family should be on that at least.
Okay, very good. Brisket will be had. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, not eight, not nine, not 10. We have Minion. Okay. I love it when a minion comes together. Okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Can you, Arnold? How do I sound? Okay. There's a little bass boom in there, but Moses. Moses. Yeah. Yeah. Take off thy shoes. They've dealt with this several times. Yep. I have to dig it out. Yeah. That's exactly right.
I figured you probably knew who could maintain this thing.
Yes, if we start 5 minutes early, no, we'll be in trouble. We're not allowed to start early.
Start early.
There's no starting early.
No. None of that.
Good choice.
Oh, I should move my stuff.
Good choice. Are these our flowers or their flowers?
It's theirs from the event. Are you having a Sesame Street experience?
Oh, yeah.
One of these things is not like the other.
It's all good. It's all happy. All happy.
Very nice. Oh, did you find it? In there? I knew we had it here.
Good.
Sorry. Apologies. Crash, bang.
It's all good.
There we go.
It's all good.
Okay.
It feels inappropriate in Brooklyn to start early. So we'll start on time. I think we have like a minute and a half on my watch.
Yeah.
This is the 7th Shabbat since Tisha B'Av. We've been in this process since that day in the summer. The summer is actually linked all the way back to Shavuot, right? So Shavuot, which really marks the end of spring, the beginning of summer, is that moment of covenant, which we'll get to hear about again tomorrow morning. Jonah will hear about the reaffirmation of that covenant 40 years later. But Shavuot, we read of the original establishment of the covenant with those who had just left Egypt at Sinai. And that lasts for a short period of time. It's a honeymoon. And then the honeymoon is broken. And that is Tisha B'Av, which is associated with all sorts of events, not just the destruction of the temples, but also with Moses coming down, seeing actually the spies going into the land. I should actually say that's really the association, is the spies coming back with the bad report. The 17th of Tammuz then is Moses coming down, seeing the golden calf. And then finally we reach Tisha B'Av. And we've had 7 weeks of consolation. The prophet Isaiah has been coming to us each week for 7 weeks, not really connected to the Torah readings, reassuring us that relationships, whether human with God or with people, can be restored. And so that's really the theme that we've been working on over the summer, if we've been attentive, that relationships should be attended to, and we should make some effort and take some time to restore, including with God. So that's really, we're on that 7th. This is the final Haftarah. We'll hear from Jonah tomorrow. The final Haftarah consolation or reconciliation, which Isaiah advises us that we can restore. And of course, then we enter the 10 days of penitence, right, in which the ledger lies open. We're going to talk about that image tonight. The ledger lies open, and we are constantly hoping to change the outcome, the seal that will fall on Yom Kippur. So here we are as we transition into fall. It's kind of nice to have Chagim that are in the cooler weather than the warmer weather. And so likely we will have in our unair conditioned home for the holidays at Plymouth, I think it'll be pleasant. So for those who are listening on Zoom, if you were thinking, I'm not so sure, I don't like sitting and schwitzing, I think we're going to have nice weather outside, but also indoors. With that in mind, Cantor will start us off. If you want to follow the words of Achat Sha'alti, the psalm of this season of the month of Elul, page 358.
Achat Sha'alti meit Adonai ota avakesh. Achat Sha'alti meit Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti bebeit Adonai kol yemei chayai. Lachazot benoam Adonai ulevakeh b'cheichalo. Lachazot benoam Adonai ulevakeh b'cheichalo.
Only one thing do I ask of the Eternal, only that do I seek, to abide in the house of the Eternal all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of God and to frequent God's temple. We're going to turn back pages 2 and 3, usher in Shabbat with this final labor of the work week, the kindling, this most symbolic human labor, the kindling of flame by which we create civilization. And page 2, and I'm going to call on our bar mitzvah, Jonah, and Mom and Dad and Violet, Andrew and Gabrielle. Come on around, so we're looking at the congregation. And Jonah's going to light the candles and then sing the blessing.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who follows us with the mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Mazel tov. Don't leave the room. Okay? Good work. We take the journey of Kabbalat Shabbat, starting with the English reading on page 9, and then through the Psalms that recreate the days of God's labors of creation. Page 9, we read responsively, "There are days, too many, when we seek things for ourselves and measure our failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. And there are days, too many, when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. And there are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat together, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace." The mystics in northern Israel created the section of the service we refer to as Kabbalat Shabbat. They imagined Shabbat personified, embodied, They went out into the hills and would invite Shabbat in mystical form to come and join them. They strung together psalms to recreate the 6 days of creation, the days of labor before the 7th day of God's divine rest. We'll find on page 13 the words of Shiru Ladonai from Psalm 96.
שירו לאדוני שיר שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני שיר שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ.
Page 19, the final words in the Hebrew from Psalm 29. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. May God grant strength to our people. May God bestow peace upon our people.
Adonai Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom.
Shalom
Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, v'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo.
Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, one of the mystics, composed this grand hymn, actually borrowing, really lifting a lot of the language from the Isaiah texts that we're using in the Haftarot, repurposing them for Shabbat. And so he recrafted that language into this beautiful hymn we know as Lecha Dodi, Shabbat embodied as bride and queen. You'll find the words on pages 20 and 21. When we reach that final stanza, the 9th stanza, we're going to arise in body and or spirit, face the entryway, and invite Shabbat to join us. Page 20, Lecha Dodi.
לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת
לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה. The fifth stanza, the next page. לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה. We arise for the ninth stanza and face the entry.
גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה.
בואי חלה, בואי חלה,
לך דודי,
לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה. Having invited Shabbat to join us and celebrated Shabbat, we can do no less than welcome one another. So take a moment with Shabbat Shalom, first to those you've arrived with. But then I want to invite you to make some new acquaintances. Turn around, introduce yourself to someone you do not yet know. Introduce yourself and say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Violet is chanting 52 psukim from the Torah, and So, in addition to our celebrity bar mitzvah, Jonah, I also want, for those of you who do not know our shaliach, Elad Bar Ilan, if you don't know what a shaliach is a professional emissary, courtesy of the Jewish agency, the Sochnut, in Israel. And Elad and his family, what is this, your third year? Second year as our shaliach here in, I feel like, in Brooklyn. So if you want to find out stuff about Israel, anything, you want to learn Hebrew, you want to learn how to, cook things or anything Israeli, Elad, we're grateful to have Elad joining us tonight. And I'll invite you to have a seat if you like. We are at the psalm that celebrates the arrival of Shabbat, sung by the Levites when the temple still stood in Jerusalem. Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, page 22.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot לשמחה עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות
Let me invite you to arise in body and or spirit as you are able for Reader's Kaddish, page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. ישמי רבם מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל לשמי לקדושה,
בריחו
לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירה מעלמה ויאמרו
Amen. The call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 28, and I think east is approximately that direction.
Ya na na ya na 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 ya na na ya na 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 ya na 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 ya na na ya na 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 ya na 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 na
invite you to have a seat if you like, as we join together on page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 32, Ahalam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, באורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה, ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
אוהב עמו ישראל. שמה ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Jonah, come on up.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוהים מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, ושרתם ליהו על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בידיך. וטבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, ואתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם ארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We are at page 39 as we read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. The words of Micha Mocha, page 40.
אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בכל הים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם. ונאמן כי ודע אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
גאל ישראל.
Amen. Page 42, Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום. והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. שמע צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום. מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, או אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום. או אדוני, עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. אמן, 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 אמן,
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. The words of Exodus 31, V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time, for it is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel, that in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from the labor and was refreshed. Page 44 at the top.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת, שבת ויהי נפש. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise in body and or spirit, as we are able, as we offer the words of Tefillah, the Amidah, page 46.
That my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
I invite, if it's your custom to remain standing, to please do so. If it's your custom to have a seat at this time, you're certainly welcome to. We continue, page 55, the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. Page 57, together, ever present one. May we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, sha'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. Page 59, the top, together, God of goodness. We give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And the final prayer of the Tefillah, the prayer for peace, on page 60, Shalom Rav.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. I invite you to have a seat at this time. There are the traditional words that lead into silent prayer, the Hebrew and English on 62, some creative alternatives on 63, or whatever our own hearts now prompt.
שלום שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. ועל כל ישראל
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So on the Shabbat before a Rosh Hashanah that falls on a Sunday night, I have more of a dialogue, certainly not a sermon tonight. I'll save the sermon for Sunday night. Let me ask, so we're approaching this holiday in which our greeting to one another is what? What are we saying now at this Shana Tova, or Lishana Tova, Lishana Tova, Tikatevu, that's actually the full, right? You should be inscribed or written for a good year. Lishana. So, certain things, right? It implies what? That a new year is coming. That's not necessarily clear if you've been reading through the Torah. Right, so the Torah actually, even the entire Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, isn't quite clear about when the year begins and ends. Not so clear to us. In fact, in the most of the calendars given in the Torah do not include the holy days that are upcoming, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Our oldest calendars only mention 3 holidays. Anyone? Passover, Sukkot, yeah, Passover and Sukkot, and in the middle? Shavuot. Right, and they don't always use those names. So in the oldest calendar we have in the book of Exodus, talk about the Feast of Matzot. They don't call it Passover there. Feast of Matzot. Seems to be a week long. Then it says there is the Feast of First Fruits, or maybe choice fruits, depending on how you translate the word bikurim. We know that to be Shavuot, at least we think it's Shavuot. And then the feast of the ingathering of the harvest, Chag HaAsif. And that's very ancient. We know from archaeology, actually, we have a calendar that comes from an area near Kibbutz Gezer. It's called the Gezer calendar, that actually seems to tell us every month they had holidays. They had holidays for olives, and they had holidays for grapes, and it was an agricultural holiday festival. And it's not exactly so clear when the beginning of the year was and when the end of the year was. And in fact, it looks a lot like the year divided into two periods. There was a period of planting and harvest, and then there was another period. So anyone traveled in Israel during the other period that I'm thinking of? It's called the rainy season. Yeah, it rains. Yeah, there's the early rains and the late rains, but the truth of the matter is from about October, November until about March, April, at least in the Highlands, I know it's not Scotland, but in the Highlands of Israel, there's not a whole lot you can do except be wet and damp and cold. Trust me, I lived in a little teacher college dormitory, and I was wet and cold all winter. So in fact, when we think about the new year, it's not so clear to us. In fact, if you think about the new year in America, we have more than one, right? So we've got, for example, the one we know best, January 1st, which goes back to things like ancient Roman customs and Druidic customs and, the dark of the year and wanting to have fire and warmth. But we have other New Years, like Jonah, what just happened for you? You have a New Year that started up in Westchester, right? What just started for you? A new year of what? Of school. Right, September is generally the new school year, not January, right? And what else? We have new years in terms of July 1. What's July 1? It's called the camp. I was thinking of the budget year. I was thinking July 1 through June 30 is the synagogue budget, and it's many not-for-profit budgets, right? So we have all sorts of New Years, and in fact, the rabbis... When? And then we've got sports years. So the sport, right, depending on the team and the sport, when does the seat, right? Because it depends. So we learned that the rabbis teach us that actually there's not one new year, there are 4 new years. The new year we know best as Rosh Hashanah is the new year for human beings, for kings. It's like presidential years, right? So if you want to keep track of the reign of kings. But there are other New Years. What's the New Year what's the New Year that falls in the dead of winter? Tu B'Shvat, right? Also known as Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanot, the New Year of the trees, because the almond tree starts to blossom to tell us spring might not be so far away. And it's used for deciding tithing. Actually, agricultural taxes. What other New Year do we have? We have a New Year in Elul, you won't believe it, for tithing cattle. Don't worry. Does anyone here trade cattle? No one does cattle futures or pork bellies? No, anything like that. Okay. But we actually have, in fact, the 1st of Nisan. Anyone know what the 1st of Nisan is? It's the New Year for holidays. Right? We're told that the first day of the month of Nisan is when the holiday year begins. Why? Because what holiday starts back in the spring in the month of Nisan? Passover, right. And in fact, we know there was sort of a tension between, should the year really begin in the spring? What are you doing having a year beginning in the fall when it's raining? And as we approach the holiday, the question on my mind is, what is the theme of our fall Jewish New Year? What's the theme? Arnold? Turning. Very fine. Turning of what? Doorknobs? The leaves are turning. Okay, Lauren. Harvest. In what sense? It's the final harvest of the year. It's the big stuff. So the grain has all gone in the spring and summer. We harvest wheat and then barley and first fruits, but the fall is the final harvest of the things that take the longest to grow. So if you go to Israel, for example, the things that grow on trees, like pomegranates, or things that grow, they take longer than the wheat and the barley to grow. So yes, it is the final harvest of an entire 6 or 7 months of harvest that is taking place. That's true. What else is our new year in the fall about? Well, let's read. Instead of guessing, let's see what the people who put our prayer book together thought that the new year was about. And here's my question in the back of your mind. Is the new year about, supposedly, Hayom Harat HaOlam? This is the day in which the world was conceived. Is this about God creating the universe or the world? Or is it maybe something a little bit more human? Something scaled not to God but to us. So, I'm going to give you some page numbers in the prayer book. Page 48. Do you see there's a little inset? You see that little inset? And it's not, I can't give it to the people on the PDF because it's not on the PDF, Christian. I'm sorry about that. It will be maybe next week if I remember to give you the right PDF. We'll see if I can remember that. Who's on page 48? Okay. Who would like to read? Grandma, am I going to say? No, you don't want to. No. Okay. Who wants to read where it says Shabbat Shuvah in the English? You don't have to read the Hebrew. You could read it in the Dahlia.
Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and
Good. Now go up and look for the inset with the asterisks in the prayer.
in Hebrew.
No, just the English. I mean, you can impress us if you want to read the Hebrew. That's good. I like people who read Hebrew.
Remember us for life, O Sovereign who delights in life, and inscribe us in the book of life for your sake, living God.
Okay. So here we're going to get a thematic. Inscribe us, which is just fancy English for what verb? Write. Write us down in the book of life. That's what we ask God. Write us down in the book of life. By the way, it says Shabbat Shuvah. It's not wrong, but it's not right. Actually, this insert is recited all 10 days. From on Rosh Hashanah, the second day Rosh Hashanah, the Tzom Gedalia, we keep going. We say these words every day of the 10 days of penitence, Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. So it's not just Shabbat Shuvah. It's a little bit misrepresented. This is just a Shabbat prayer book, so that's why it says that. But we actually recite, remember us for life. It's kind of a fancy way of saying, when you think about us, not, okay, not that, this. O Sovereign, because you love life, and write us down in the book of life, okay? Let's go to the next one. Turn to page 50. I need another volunteer who wants to read the insert for Shabbat Shuvah in the English. It's short. Aaron Zimmerman, thank you for being volunteered. You see where it says Shabbat Shuvah, who is like you? Bob's going to help you find it.
I'm sorry. Who is like the compassionate God? Who remembers their creatures?
That's the insert. And again, the verb is remember. God at this season remembers us for life. No, seriously. Think about Rome. Think about those contests. Remember us for life. We want to live. Okay? Let's turn to the next one. Page 52. The ending of this prayer changes Who wants to read the changed ending? Anyone? Faith, can I pick on you? Oh, so instead of saying holy God, we say holy sovereign, holy ruler, holy monarch, holy king, right? We affirm at this season that God is two things, right? We approach God as Avinu, parent, because it's better to start, please dad, please mom, but also that God has power. And that's the melech part, malkeinu, the ruler, the sovereign. Let's turn to one more insertion that we're going to find that the rabbis stuck in here on page 58. Susan, I saw your hand up. So at the bottom of 58 where it says Shabbat Shuvah. Okay, tov lechaim tovim kol b'nei britecha. So write down for a life, for a good life, all the b'nei britecha, the children, the b'nei brith. That doesn't mean people who have, who are the b'nei brith? B'nei brit. People of the covenant, Jews. It's one of our many, many names. Children, if you want to hear about covenant, that's tomorrow. Jonah's going to talk to you all about that covenant. So b'nei brit, that's one of the names for our people. So here's my question. What's the focus here in the prayer book about this new year?
It's about our relationship to God.
Okay.
Just as a sovereign needs subjects, because the first one that you read said, for your sake to God. And I found that somewhat curious, but if a king doesn't have any subjects, then, where's the eye?
Yeah, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it would be shame to be, it's like being president and having, no one who voted for, well, that's a different, I won't go there. Yeah, no, you can't be a sovereign without subjects. Exactly right. Okay. What else is going on here? Arnold? Moving forward. Right. We'd like to be alive in the future. And there's this image that was hinted at, right? This book of life. Now we often have a thought that the book of life is in fact sort of this massive volume that God keeps open in front of God, and God is scribing in it, and it's like a court ledger, and God, all that God does in that is each year decides who's going to live, who shall live and who shall die. It's not quite that, right? The book of life is actually many volumes. Each of us gets a volume. Who writes down what's the book of life contain? Let's read, so we'll find out. Ready? Okay. So let's go back and page 42. Okay? So I'm going to read a little Hebrew for you. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu, traditionally Malkeinu l'chaim. Cause us to lay down, Adonai, our God, to peace, meaning in safety, right? Make us lie down in shalom, in safety. V'hamidenu, and make us stand up, arise, meaning in the morning, our sovereign, here our guardian, to life. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread over us your shelter of peace. And then it goes on, v'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha, and guide us, maybe, with your good counsel, and redeem us for the sake of your name. It tells us, shield us and shelter us. The Reform Movement version's a little bit modified, but not radically. So one of the notions is when we lay down at night, we are defenseless. We're defenseless because we're sleeping. And we ask God to watch over us. What are we doing while we're sleeping? One more page. If you go to Shabbat morning, let's find out what we do when we lay down. Page 68. Page 68. Anyone go to Jewish summer camp? Anyone know the song Modehani Lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, shehechazarta b'nishmati b'chemla, rabba emunatecha. So these are the words you're supposed to recite the moment you get up in the morning before you even get out of bed. First words. So modeh or moda ani lefanecha, I am grateful before you, or perhaps in your presence, melech chai v'kayam, the living and established sovereign, shehechazarta bi, who has restored to me nishmati, my soul, bechemla, in mercy, in faithfulness, something like Rabba emunatecha, great is your faithfulness. God restores, well, God doesn't always restore everyone's soul. Sometimes people die in their sleep. People were aware of that. So there is a notion that our souls are not in our bodies when they sleep. That might explain why we're sleeping. Where do our souls go when our bodies are sleeping? Anyone? Any guess? Arnold. Oh, nice. They go to be restored. It's kind of like plugging your car in. Did you read that article about how the infrastructure is going to have to deal with all these plug-in cars charging overnight? Traditionally, electric use is low in the evening, but now we're going to have all these cars plugged in and recharging all night long, and they're going to have to change everything. You're right. You do get recharged, but what else is your soul doing at night? So this is a legend. It's a rabbinic legend. Your souls go up. Do you know? Purification waits for Gehenna. What they do each night is they go up to the heavenly scriptorium and they download the day. Right? It's a backup process, right? Those of us who, right? Don't you, my Mac is set for backup at midnight every evening, just in case it crashes during the day. There's a backup. That happens at night. So what do? Our souls go up to the heavens, and what do? We go to this, and what do? In utter honesty, they fill out our personal book of life. Yes, what you did goes into your book. Okay? And then you come back in the morning and you wake up, right? And once a year, who goes through the scriptorium? God. God pulls all the books out, right? And what does God do? Makes an inventory, right? It's that annual audit time. And what is God? So what do we say? It's not here in the book, I don't have it, but it is what is written there is written by the hand of each individual. We actually say that as part of the liturgy. The cantors sing better than I, right? Mashayeshbo, kol adambo. It is found, what's found in there is from each human being's hand. Meaning we've recorded it, right? The judgment is from us. God's just looking what we wrote down. And so the notion of this, right, this book of life, remember us unto life, is we kind of assume that God spends 10 days, Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, going through the books. Whose books? Our books. That we've narrated our deeds for the year. And what's our hope? You ever start reading a book and you go, And it's our hope that over the course of 10 days, while the book lays open, we still get to inscribe. Right? We still get, even though the book is open, 10 days, our souls are still going up and down, up and down, up and down. So what's possible? Yeah, there could be a turn. There could be a turn, Right? We have an opportunity to demonstrate that, okay. So what kind of New Year are we? This is not, right? No, it's not that kind of a New Year. And it's not a New Year about God creating planets and it's a New Year about us changing. Not God changing us, but us, our parent, our sovereign, opening the book. Oh, Mom, I don't want to tell you what happened. Oh, Dad. Well, your teacher called, right? I'm going to find out. Okay, but this is, and that's the notion the rabbis give us. Not so much that we're caught up in this grand, yes, that's part of the thematic. It's ancient that the world was created at this season. But you know what we say? The world was created, right? What are those two pockets at this season? You know the legend about the two pockets, right? In one pocket, I am but dust and ashes. Take out that little piece of paper whenever you're feeling too hoity-toity. What's the other pocket say? The world was created for my sake. Indeed. So we have an opportunity to recreate ourselves. Just something to think about at this season. Baruch Tiyah. We are going to turn our thoughts and prayers to those in need of healing. And we call to mind on this Shabbat, Lori Blum, Gloria Sancho, Jenny St. George, Chava Gittel Bat Freda, Yona Chaya Bat Miriam, Ruth Bat Binyamin Vachava, Steve Brown Inns, Yona Tevya Ben Label Vegeta Renee Fishzone, Moshe Ben Leah, Nancy Lazar, Delroy Aline, Max Estroff, Heike Bat Freda, Chaim, Kim Petchek, Peggy Einhorn, Bruce Nygren, Eleanor Shapiro Nygren, Bela Rivka Bat Shmuel Pesach Esther, Susan Sonkin, David Stephen Cohen, Andrea Feller, Peter Hort, Vlada Rusev, Nick Boyer, Eileen Dernfeld, Tom Walton, Chris Adam, Ruth Adam, Tim Weber, Ari Gilbert, Michelle Goldsmith, Richard Nicholson. Are there other names that should be shared aloud?
Alexander Mazzara.
You'll find the words of Debbie Friedman's setting of the Misha Bayrak, page 253.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu, mekol habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Page 258, prayers for our country and for the state of Israel. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance, and may they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. We say, Amen. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And let us say, Amen. We're going to turn to our concluding prayers. Aleinu on page 283. Again, I invite you to arise in body and or spirit as you're able. Page 283.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגר עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו עומדים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss of life and death. Call to mind the recent passings, Jay Wertheimer, remembered by Sandy. Passing of Joseph Katz, recalled by Mark Katz. Magdalena Cantor, recalled by Avi and Melis Bromberg. And the passing of our member, William Bill Coleman, recalled by Marge Coleman and family. We also call to mind those whose yahrzeit falls at this season. Help me out, Cantor. Stephanie Kochman, recalled by Cantor Ayelet Borzakansky. Shelley Fishbein-Trauber, recalled by Haley Geffman Gold. Miriam Mickey Mandel-Fleet, recalled by Ellen Edelman and Rebecca Layden. Gideon Shacknai, recalled by Don Shacknai. Lester Hall, recalled by Eve Hall. Rhea Harmon, recalled by Lynn Harmon. Roseanne Ryman, recalled by Warren Ryman. Thomas Milburn, recalled by Peter Milburn. Carl Kaminsky, recalled by Michelle Kaminsky. Lawrence List, recalled by Bobby List, Molly List, and the entire congregational community. Coleman Zagnut, recalled by Stuart Zagnut. Stephen Gilder, recalled by Barbara Zimmerman. Bernard Bernie Lieberman, recalled by Marissa Broman. Sylvia Huffman, recalled by the congregation. Lucille Corin, recalled by Stephen Corin. Richard Cash, recalled by Lauren Smetana. Anna Gershman Wilder, recalled by Dahlia Radley Kingsley. David Abraham Rubin, recalled by Renee Fishzone. Rebecca Seltzer, recalled by Franny Menlo. Rose Riegelman, recalled by our congregation. Christina Epstein-Wise, recalled by David Wise. Florence Stupnick, recalled by Nina Epstein. Ernest Griesbach, recalled by Leslie Schultz. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May their memories be for blessing. If I have inadvertently mispronounced any of these names, or if I have failed to share aloud the name of a loved one who you are reciting Kaddish for on the Shabbat Eve. I invite you to share those names aloud. If you're on the live stream, the Zoom, please do share any names that you'd like, and we will share them aloud.
Monday was on Hebrew calendar, the yahrzeit of September 11th. So I'd like to remember those people that went, especially like Frederick Stroud.
Thank you. We join in sanctifying their names and memories, even as we sanctify God's name and pray for the coming of God's realm. The words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, we join together on page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabah v'yalmad v'rach erultei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agalah uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabah mivarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemeid kudsha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlamma rabba v'yim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace on high cause peace to descend upon us, all Israel, our entire world, and let us all say, Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
V'yimeru.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated, everyone. It is my pleasure to call on Lauren Young, president of the Brooklyn Heights Synagogue. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Shabbat shalom. First of all, Mazel Tov, Jonah. You're going to do amazing tomorrow. First of all, where do you get a tan like that? Why are you so tan? Are you playing a sport that you're outside all day long? Soccer. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So he's going to look really good in his pictures. Nothing really happening around BHS these days. No big holidays coming up. If you have not received your tickets yet, do not freak out. Check your spam, simple ticks. That's what happened to me. But come on, just come to services. We'll figure it out if you haven't gotten your tickets yet. Don't worry. It's all good. We got you, okay? We do need greeters still, though, for the High Holy Days, so if you're available to be a greeter, we would love to have you. Sukkot, after, we look forward to Sukkot just as soon as the High Holy Days, the Yom Kippur is over. We need people to have sipping in the sukkah in their homes, and we're looking for people to attend. In their sukkahs, yeah, not in their homes, in their backyards. Or you're like really into the roof idea too, right?
Any place you can put a sukkah other than indoors? Yes.
Also, we have not done a good job of publicizing this yet, but there's an amazing play by Tom Stoppard called Leopoldstadt, and we're getting tickets for November. So I don't know if it was in news and notes this week, and I think we're going to need to send out a special email just about it. It's going to be in November, so keep an eye out for that. Our Social Justice Committee has like a zillion things going on. There's 2 pages here, but a lot of it's around climate action stuff. Please, please get involved. We can make a difference, Tikkun Olam, and all that good stuff. And finally, she doesn't want me to tell anybody this, but it was Linda's birthday yesterday, so make sure you wish her a happy birthday. Beyond that, I mean, there's just so much going on, and thank you all for being super flexible in this crazy time when we're literally wandering Jews. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Lip, is there anything else you wanted me to say? Okay, you're all amazing. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. So tomorrow morning, 9:30, downstairs here is Chavurah, the lower level, is that being facilitated by Rabbi Suorin tomorrow morning. And then 10:30 a.m. at one of our various sacred locations, the Wandering Jews of Brooklyn Heights. We will be at Guild Hall, which is the social hall of Grace Church. I like to actually make this point. I'll make the point tomorrow. Grace Church was our very first permanent home as a congregation. It's where our first phone number existed. We had one of those things called a landline, and I'm pretty sure Marion Cohn of blessed memory was actually our administrator back in the day manning that phone. So it's always, we love being at Grace and being in Guild Hall, and we look forward to Jonah's leadership tomorrow morning. We know it's going to go great. What else can I tell you? Please don't panic. If you can't find the tickets in your spam file, just show up a little early and we'll work it out. It will all be okay. Our closing hymn tonight is Adon Olam, page 321, and then we'll be making Kiddush right on the table over there.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'en Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimloch Noram Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hove Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Echad Bein Sheni Lecham Shelo Lech Lechachbira Beli Reishit Beli Tachlit Velo Ha'oz Ve'ha'misra Velo Ha'oz Ve'ha'misra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali Ve'tzurchem li Ve'tzara Ve'hu Nisi U'manos li Ve'nan Kosi Ve'yom Ekra Ve'nan Kosi Ve'yom Ekra Be'yado Avkid Ruchi Ve'eit Ishan Ve'a'iram Ve'im Ruchi Geviati Adonai li Ve'lo ira Adonai li Ve'lo ira.
Shabbat Shalom, please join us. Jonah, you're still working. Let's go make Kiddush.